Hello, I am Edie Burns. This is Lucas and Chef Thais, and we are going to be presenting our seminar on hotels in creating and maintaining a true sustainability program. Let's get started. Why sustainability at a cocktail conference? I would love it if Lucas could actually kick us off as our beverage expert in sustainability.
So it's easy to forget the true meaning of the word sustainability. The ability to sustain is one of the most important abilities of the human being. You will always need this ability to survive in this amazing and chaotic world we live in. To sustain your mental health, to take care of your one and only body, to sustain your friendships and family relations, to provide for yourself and your loved ones. And yes, of course, we also need to take immediate action to protect our environment, our home that is now on fire. If you're watching this seminar, I believe that you can already connect the dots and understand why it's imperative that our industry takes responsibility for our negative impact on the communities and ecosystems we work with. If you're still having trouble understanding or feeling confused, don't worry, we have all been there. What's really important is to learn that sustainability is not something that you can catch or achieve. It's a never-ending journey that will transform the way you see, think, and feel the amazing world in which we have the luck to live in. Let me tell you, there's no such thing as becoming 100% sustainable, but my experience working with sustainability and circular economy inside our industry taught me that we have the incredible opportunity to become one of the most influential industries in the world, with amazing sustainability practices that can be an example for other industries, organizations, and governments. We are part of the hospitality industry, an industry built in taking care and providing for our guests. We need to understand that this planet is our hotel and we are the guests. If we change the lens we use to see the world, we can have the opportunity to inspire and educate millions of guests across the world that will definitely join us to accelerate the transition to a more healthier and sustainable world.
Amazing, thank you. Chef.
Hello, everybody. So I think the better question to this is, the answer is a question, essentially. I think the better question is, why didn't we do this sooner? Why has it taken the brutal and harsh effects of COVID to get here? And why haven't we taken the time to research and communicate with each other on our personal sustainable efforts? The point of us being here today is the answer to those questions, to teach and communicate what we know, what we have learned through research, experimentation, and experience, and how to guide others like us to make eco-conscious decisions within our industry. Eco-consciousness is becoming a priority for many of us in our daily lives, making switches to more sustainable ways of living and shopping, and the hospitality industry is no different. Eco-friendly hotel trends are now emerging in more and more hotels across the world, which I feel like a lot of people have seen as well. Sustainability is a continuous concern among governments, citizens, and businesses. An increase in climate change awareness, the harm of greenhouse gas emissions, and waste management bring a growing demand for action. Not to mention the importance and impact all of this makes on our employees' daily wages, job satisfaction, nutrition, and mental health. I think it's safe to say that COVID has definitely shed a light on how poorly we have treated our environment, and how tremendously that has affected all of those who inhabit the earth. It's easy to say that you're sustainable, that you're a sustainable business, but actually following through with all of it and adopting the process so that it becomes a routine is still very rare. After the seminar, I hope that you ask yourself, I think it's important to ask yourselves at each step of your business culture and cycle and structure, are you making decisions with sustainability in mind? Although this question can be incredibly overwhelming, I feel that as well sometimes. It is a reminder for us to think about the small steps that we can take to evolve our current and future business plans and structures to one that's just better for our world and for our people. An important thing to remember is it's all about progress, not about perfection. As long as we're making progress, we're on the right track.
Excellent. And for me, as in my current position, understanding how and why and how we can really like bridge the gap between the front and the back of house along with service is really the key to all of this, making sure culinary and beverage and leadership are all in step with these important moves for the future is really key, so that we can actually make it just, you know, a little change every day. It's not, it's very hard to be like as perfect as possible, but just always trying to strive to ask the questions to move forward is really key. And the front and the back of house is really, really, really important. And as a director of food and beverage at the Graduate Roosevelt Island, I work with Call Mom, which is Mark Rose and Meta Bros. And every day I'm asking myself, how can we push this program forward? How can we do better? And how can I ensure that the front and the back of house, specifically culinary beverage, and then also, you know, the day-to-day operations and service are truly working hand in hand and just moving this a day at a time. So I felt that it was really important to make sure that we had a beverage expert in sustainability and a culinary expert in sustainability really come together so we can talk about these questions. Lucas, can you give us a little background on you?
Of course. Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm Lucas Groglio from Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I'm the founder and director of Coctelería Consciente, the first non-profit bartending project focused on inserting sustainability, healthy habits, and wise drinking into the DNA of the spirits industry. I have been working in the spirits industry for over 14 years now with my company, Lo Hacemos Bien, where I perform as founder and CEO, and we do consulting as well as cocktail bars for social and corporate events and manage massive fairs and festivals.
Great. Chef?
Hello, everybody. I am Thais Rodriguez, and I am originally born and raised in New York. I am currently in Grand Cayman, Cayman Islands. And I am the senior culinary manager and chef at Tom Foodery Kitchen in Grand Cayman, overseeing different developing projects, private catering, special events, hospitality consulting, back of house training, the works. I do a little bit of everything. Super, super excited to be here and talk about not only what we're doing here in Cayman, but what we've done around the world and what we can continue to do.
Excellent. So what is the ideal and attainable world? Well, in an ideal and attainable world, you have the ideation of a hotel or an inn or a restaurant, and you're starting from really building the foundation and going up. In a hotel, you know, you really have the deviation between the food and beverage team and the rooms and operations side. And really, I mean, if you think about it, not getting rid of the little shampoo bottles is, you know, a step forward, and just having like the pumps. And that's a start. And then going into housekeeping where, you know, what kind of chemicals are you using? And then it gets translated into food and beverage. So really having everyone across the same ecosystem and across the same kind of thought process is really important. This is very hard. One, ownership and leaders aren't always kind of signing on at the same time. And it's just, you know, it is a little bit more expensive, and those dollars get stretched so much in the beginning that it's just not on the top of mind unless it really is part of the like ingrained philosophy of the program. So this is why we really wanted to focus on existing hotels and existing programs in this particular seminar. Most importantly, it goes with, you know, the people, making sure that you're happy, that they're happy and healthy, and at least, you know, having fair wages so that they can sustain something kind of something moving forward. But we really wanted to focus on a few different areas that we felt in existing hotels could really kind of push the needle. First, it will be supply chain and the supply chain management. So making sure that we're supporting those small businesses and those local farmers, the entrepreneurs and the, you know, the small producers really who are doing things in the right way and who just, you know, they need that support. And a hotel throwing their support behind the right brands, the right farmers is really important. Recycling materials and upcycling and composting, as well as, you know, donations and all those little things really add up to something real. Then of course, an open and honest discussion about the current social and environmental crisis that is currently happening and evolving in this world. So why are we focusing on the hotel F&B space? hotels are the masters of waste. Unfortunately, there's just so many people and so many moving parts that, either you're ordering too many things and you don't use them, or you're ordering things that you don't end up needing. It's just huge corporations with a variety of standards, and you definitely need more guidance in terms of reducing the carbon footprint. We have an enormous opportunity to start implementing and sustaining the circular economy solutions that serve as an example for the efficiency. And this is really key because we can really start the trend that moves the needle forward, and just even little bits and pieces here can change the future. And that's why it's so important. So where are we now? The most important thing, and Lucas does a great job with his company, is they start to manage where people are now. So I really want him to take over, and he can talk about how he first evaluates the waste in a current project, and then how we can start to move forward.
Thank you, Edie. So as you said, to start a sustainability program, what's best is to start with a sustainability evaluation. We consider that the food and beverage department is where you can start and measure and then show to the rest of the hotels so they can keep you as an example. So if we consider a sustainability evaluation, we have to first think on waste. Do you know how much waste your operation generates? Start by observing and measuring every material you dispose. It doesn't mind if now for you it's waste and you don't recycle. Don't worry about that. Just measure to know how much and how many materials are you generating each day, each week, each month. So you can know where you are now. And then you can start going step by step. So the second point, it will be the carbon footprint. So where do your supplies come from? What is the environmental impact of their daily transportations? So this is key for sustainability, the carbon footprint. So the closer you are to your providers, or the other way around, the closer your providers and your supplies are from your hotel or from your bar, the best for the environment. So for this, you will need to map your supply chain. Do you really know your vendors and supplies, where they come from? How are they produced? Do you have a better, closer, and sustainable new options to try? Well, let's give it a try. Let's start by knowing our vendors and generating relationships with them that will let us know how they operate and if they have sustainable practices or not. And what's more important is to keep the questions coming. Involve your whole team. They already have the most answers. So the most important thing here is to train them, to let them know why this is important for you, why this is important for your operation, and how they can get involved, because they always have a lot of good information with them.
Exactly. And as always, keep the questions coming. In this current program, I know that we can continue to do better and to continue to evolve. Unfortunately, in COVID, where there's a lack of resources and a lack of getting things in, and so we're doing the best that we can, but we're opening up this bar on Friday, and then after a couple of weeks, I have on the calendar evaluate where we're at. We're going to look at every single piece of material that's coming in. We're going to ensure that the beverage and the culinary are in step. How can we make sure that the fall menu is a bit more is like less waste? How can we do some more cross utilization? And so it's just always asking those questions is really key. And so I know with my team, everyone's doing the best they can. Everyone's in a challenging time in this, I guess, in the middle of this, pandemic still, with every variant coming out now. So there's managing expectations with your team is really key. I can't just, flip a switch and say, hey, we need to do this, this, and this, because I also can't take on assisting them in that support. But in a month, hey, let's focus on just disposables. All right, hey, let's focus on what's your new menu like? How's culinary doing? How are we going to match this up? Just always asking the questions is really important. So with supply chain management, with culinary and beverage working together, Chef, could you kick us off?
Absolutely. I think that supply chain management is where you definitely need to start. It's farming methods that are being used. It's finding out where your purveyors are coming from, where your food is coming from, how much transportation is involved, what are the distribution methods that are involved. many restaurants employ vendors that ship products hundreds, not thousands of miles to reach their customers. And not only can shipping long distance drive up product prices, but it produces an excess of unnecessary carbon emissions, as Lucas was mentioning before. That's super hard on the environment. And so what can we do within our supply chain to minimize that, and also start really looking at the radius, a closer radius of where we are, right? So if it's possible to localize it, odds are you have local vendors who can provide you with products that don't have to travel long distances to get to you. And it doesn't have to be everything. I think that we have to maintain the consistent theme of it's not about perfection, it's about progress. And so if you start to map out where your products are coming from, where your produce is coming from, where your fruits and vegetables and meats are coming from, I'm not saying that you have to get everything super local. That's really difficult, and especially in a large hotel where you're constantly high volume. But for example, when I worked in Peru, I was the executive chef and food and beverage manager at Peru, and it was in Cusco. So in Cusco, you have high elevation, you need to eat well, right? You are going on trails and hikes.
Yeah.
You know, your body is moving. And so one of the things that I did when I got there was completely change the food and beverage menu and offering to be more holistic. Why wouldn't we do that to be able to support our guests and provide them with the nutrients that they need to continue to carry out throughout their day? And by doing that, what I did was minimize the supply chain in terms of the purveyors that we were getting for delivery and big trucks and from international places, is I localized that. And, you know, we had a specific person for a specific potato come in and bring us potatoes. And we had different types of corn coming in. And we had, you know, even, this is like weird, but it was called cuy, and it's a very local dish. And so bringing all of these things into the hotel, you're not only expanding your team's like creativity, but you're also creating a community within the hotel space and outside of the hotel space. And all that does is bring you more profit.
Had those vendors ever been in the hotel before?
No, no, which was awesome, because they come in and they're like, oh my gosh, what is this? You know, like, this place, it's magical.
That's awesome.
And it's awesome, right? And like, then we started creating special themed dinners on just all the potatoes or just all types of corn. And people love that stuff. And if we can get more of our farmers involved and more of our local entrepreneurs and people who are actually putting in so much work, and to have them get backed up by a large hotel, that helps them incredibly. So I think that's definitely a start to, supply chain management. That's where you got to start. You got to start mapping it all out, making a list of who you're using and see, you know, who's around you. Get to know people, make a connection with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's nice is if you're bringing in those vendors, then you're kind of opening up the beverage side to assisting them with finding the right people. And so you're getting potatoes, make a really interesting potato cocktail. I love a good savory cocktail. And that's awesome. All right, Lucas.
We had like a sweet potato pisco sour there, you know, it's just like.
Exactly,
And
why not? Yeah, and why not distilling your own vodka too?
Yeah.
I mean, you can do a lot of things with that. And what I like about this seminar is like, we are repeating things because Thais will say it from the culinary side and I will say it from the beverage side. But the nice thing is that we are so in the same page, and this is how it must be to have a really sustainable program, you know, because you will see now that my points will be like really, really similar to Thais, but just on the beverage focus. So first, of course, supporting independent and sustainable spirits producers. It's really important that you know that working with independent producers and entrepreneurs will have a greater positive impact on the lives and communities where these products are made than buying from a large corporation with sustainable initiatives. This is because putting money in the pockets of entrepreneurs and independent producers will mean that they will have the chance to grow while supporting the local economy. So as Shasta said, is to be part of that community, get involved and give them opportunities to grow, you know? And if you're still working with big brands, that it's amazing too, but you will have to demand them to our favorite brands to become carbon neutral and install sustainable practice because they have the more power. So they have to be doing it. They can't have excuses. Another big part is producing your own ingredients, repurposing seasonal and local supplies from the kitchen. So again, connect with your chef, connect with your kitchen, because they have a lot of resources that you can have for your cocktails and make delicious cocktails and more sustainable cocktails, of course. And of course, always saving money for the bar, for the hotel, for the restaurant. So actually, sustainability, it's all about efficiency, you know? Another big point is preferring vendors that are changing the game, that are evolving, that are offering something unique. I really like this brand that it's called Eco Spirits. They are changing the way we transport distills, or we transport spirits. So instead of using bottles, they use reusable containers. So this is a way to generate a less carbon footprint, to generate less glass. So it's really interesting to just to be to know what's happening on our industry, be aware of these new innovations and give them a try. Let's make them a call. Let's know how they are working, why they are thinking this way. It's really important to give them a chance in our operations to try these new products, because we can innovate together as a whole industry.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll actually have some, that'll be part of the resources at the end, is just some brands that we really stand behind. But thank you, they're an excellent company. And whenever I hear, like, you know, one person, a culinary is bringing in a vendor and beverage is also going to like buy some of that, I'm like, okay, so we can like bring down that price a little bit, and you're saving money. And so that's definitely what leaders and owners definitely are excited by. But also, if we're staying with the ethos of like what we're trying to be, it's really important. Right. So in terms of actual sustainable food and beverage, Thais, do you want to continue on this journey with us?
Yeah, I would love to continue on this journey with you. So I think a few of the focuses that we're going to touch on when it comes to sustainable food and beverage is eco-friendly food services. So what does that mean? I think a big part of that is reducing waste. Waste in kitchens is incredibly high. I think I saw a survey or some details about how much one restaurant wastes in a year, and it's about 25 to 75,000 pounds of waste. Like, it's mind-blowing. And if that doesn't kind of shock you and scare you and light a fire under you, then I really don't know what will. But it's incredible that that is such a high number. And I think that especially in hotels, what we need to do is reevaluate the menus that we're using. I think specifically we're going through a lot of waste when it comes to events, right? When you do large events or meetings, because it's not technically part of the menu that you have offering for your regular day-to-day, day in, day out guests. And so I think a big part of that in changing that is reevaluating event menus. It takes an insane amount of time. I know this. I've done it. It took me at least 2 months to be able to provide different event menus based off of the ingredient and produce list that I currently have. Even now, you know, I do some private chef events, and I try to make sure that I'm guiding our consumers to be okay with using seasonal products. If they order lobster, if they want a lobster when lobster is not in season, I'm not going to give you lobster. I'm sorry. Like, it's not sustainable. It's not right. And so I think one of the biggest things is reevaluating event menus. We have the power and we have the responsibility to guide the consumers in the right direction. I know that for me, I'm always afraid that people will run out of food, right? Like, whatever kind of event it is, whether it's a private chef event or a buffet, like, I'm always afraid of people running out of food.
I think it happens to all of us in every kind.
Yeah.
For me, it's in the same for the beverages, you know?
Yeah, you're always like, oh, maybe like we don't know what type of crowd this is. Maybe they're gonna drink a lot and they're gonna.
When you never know, because they're gonna get mad, and then I'm gonna get a call, and it's like we ran out of this, or this.
But I think that with that being said, we need to be able to be comfortable enough to let our guests, our clients, our consumers know that they have ordered enough food. And then from there, take that initiative to portion control, right? So we need to highlight not only what's seasonal available of items, but educate them on why it's important and how it can save them costs as well. Like, you know, you have a guest and they're ordering a plethora of different foods, and, you know, you kind of have to tone it in, hone it in, and be like, hey, I think this is an incredible amount of food. I think that if we reduce it to this and keep it seasonal, so that we can also, so that you don't have to pay an arm and a leg, and I don't have to pay my team an arm and a leg to produce all of this, and then also waste all of it, right? So I think that's pretty important in terms of how to reduce the food waste in general. And then, you know, there's spoilage. Spoilage is a big part of it, right? Is a big part of waste. It's, you have to remember, I feel like this is super basic, but you have to remember first in, first out, right? Whatever you're putting in first in terms of produce or ingredients, that's what you have to use first. And let's say you're just not using it at a high enough rate for it to actually go, create specials, involve your team. People want to be involved, people want to be included, and it's an inclusive approach to sustainability, is involving them and creating specials and empowering them to get creative with the ingredients that they have or that they're not used to using. You know, and that, I think one more point on that is waste, you know, has a very high impact on the environment. I think we all know this, but one key to this reason is that there's so much food insecurity all over the world. And so, you know, when you think about how much waste, and if you're in the restaurant industry, you already have at least a vague understanding of the amount of food that your restaurant wastes. And just cutting that by 15% can at least start to help provide enough food for the people who don't know when they're getting a next meal. And I think that that's something that we really need to try to remember whenever we're ordering food, making food, providing food, and sending out menus to people.
For sure. I think also I allow for like a small percentage for like different events to, okay, hey, I know that you need to make sure that you have enough. That's because we do family meal here, and it's such a nice tool to be able to do and to be able to use. Okay, we have a little bit extra. We have, you know, we do 2 meals a day, you know, 1 in the morning and 1 at night for our team. And so, oh, wow, we get like something a little different or interesting or whatever for them. And so that's one way that I'm really happy that we've been able to like use some of this extra food. And they are so excited because honestly, some of these, you know, some of my amazing staff members, this might be their only meal for the day. Yeah. And so ensuring that you're making enough is really key.
And not only that, but there's, you know, there's also an impact on the bottom line. It's like, yes, you are providing food to your people and you are feeding them and providing them a safe space within food, right? And then you also look at, as food and beverage director, there's an impact on your bottom line. You know, food waste is eating into your profits without a doubt.
Yeah. And, you know, it's really interesting. Our current chef Meg Brown, they are, you know, when they're teaching someone how to cut a carrot or an onion, they're like, you know, start here and then go for, they're like, any little bit of that piece of carrot or that onion, that's the raise that you're going to ask me for, you know, next week. That's the raise you're going to ask me for in a month. Because all that little bit of waste is just super important to like keep. And so I really admire their thought process towards that and thought process in terms of training. And so, you know, I'm learning something new every day. And so when they're kind of going through and training the team, it is the raise that you're going to ask me for. That's what they're going to ask them for. And that's what the chef is going to ask me for as well. Yeah. So it's kind of, it goes hand in hand for sure.
And like, you know, like what we're doing now, all of this ties into beverage. 100%, right? If there's Absolutely. Things in the kitchen that we're not using, the peels of citrus or the peels of apple or the flesh of the citrus, since we mainly only use the juice sometimes, you know, all of that can go to the bar. And I think that's where, exactly. The, you know, really kind of brings it all together with the beverage part.
Bring it here.
All right, Lucas.
We will take that. So yeah, of course, I will start from there, upcycling ingredients, to understand how to transform leftover fruits and vegetables into fermented beverages like kefir, kombucha, or tepache. For example, for the kefir or the tepache, we can use the leftovers apples that you said you had. So I think that the more ingredients you can produce within your team at your location, like syrups, shrubs, sodas, bitters, will lead you to use seasonal and local supplies that will potentiate the local economy while reducing the carbon footprint of your beverage programs. And at the same time, if you work directly with the kitchen, you can have a lot of savings and efficiency. So what I like to ask bartenders that they said that they are sustainable is how many lives can you give to your ingredients? That's key questions. And I will put a really easy example for hotels. Every hotel has a breakfast and it has a coffee program. So what are you going to do with the coffee after you make that great espresso in the morning? Are you going just to put it into the trash, or are you going to compost it? Well, stop there. There's another way to have a new ingredient, for example, of that coffee. If you just made a simple syrup, you mix it, you can have an upcycled coffee syrup that you can use for then setting a cocktail, and you will have basically a free ingredient. Of course, you will pay for the sugar for the syrup, but the coffee, it's free because you have already charged it into the espresso. So you can make a syrup there. Then you can dehydrate the coffee and do a garnish for your cocktail, and you will have another ingredient for free. And then with the coffee that's left, then you can compost it and put it back into the earth. So the more lives that you can give to each of your ingredients, it would be great because you already have it there. So use it 100%.
Lucas, at that point,
yeah.
The more lives that you give to an ingredient, the better. I really love that little kind of note there. Yeah, the more lives that you can give to an ingredient, the more times you can use it before it's like, preferably put into the compost and recycled is really key. Reuse, recreate, and just kind of keep the life cycle going forward, for sure. All right, thank you.
Always trying to think in a circular way, just to copy nature. Nature ways in a circular way. There's no trash in nature. Everything will serve for a greater purpose. So it's the same. It's just trying to copy nature and imitating that way of thinking for our day-on-day work. And another big point, of course, is, as Tait said, events. We have a lot of events at the bar. And also what we have is bars that are in spaces like swimming pools and beaches where we can't use, glassware. Sorry, I didn't have the word. So what happens, we have a lot of disposables, and disposables are terrible. This is so retro to be talking about disposables still in 2021, but it's key that if you didn't do it yet, please get rid of your plastic and paper, of all your plastic and paper napkins too. But for example, straws, I can't believe that in 2021, we have hotels, bars, and restaurants across the world that are still using plastic straws when we have a lot of great options. For example, here I have some wheat straws. I can have some stainless steel straw, or even I can have an edible straw. And these edible straws are great because then they are biodegradable, so they go back into nature and they add a special flavor to their drink. So if you're going to use a straw, first, you don't need a straw, but if you're going to use it, please use a responsible one. Use an option that will biodegrade or that you will use it again. Also, removing plastic water bottles and installing a water filtration system is key to eliminate all of those plastic bottles. It will save you a lot of money, and also it will save you a lot of space on your refrigerators because you won't need to put a lot of bottles there. So you will just have cold or hot water or sparkling water. And also you can use craft syrups with filtered sparkling water to create your own flavor sodas and cocktail mixers. This way you won't have to buy from other brands, and then you will reduce your carbon footprint. You will save some bucks for the bar. So I think that it's something great, at least to try. If you're in a large operation, it will be a little bit difficult. If you're in a small operation, it will be easier. But either way, just start by making tests and getting everyone involved, little by little, step by step. Absolutely. Thank you. And I think we'll be talking further about some disposables in the future, especially with culinary. So that will really be key. Let's go into, now that we have our supply chain management and our food and beverage, how do we build an entire menu with culinary and beverage? So everything really kind of comes together. You get where you're getting things from, you make sure you're thinking about the products, and then we're going into actually building a menu so that we can, you know, give it to people and it's amazing. Chef.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're already going through the work of mapping out our sustainability map, right? Like, who are we, our supply chain? We're going through making the connections and creating relationships and special bonds with the people that we're working hand in hand with to get us our produce. Why wouldn't we want to redesign our menus to highlight all of this hard work and to highlight all of these hardworking people who are helping us in our industry and helping us create an experience for our guests, right? And I think that that's something that, again, it seems repetitive, I think, but it's so important to highlight the products that are available in your region that you are receiving from these people who you have made connections with. Condensing a menu that ensures a simplified supply chain and reduces food waste, right? Reusing and recreating of ingredients, as we mentioned before. You know, how many times do you go into a restaurant, and if a restaurant has, you know, a 3-page menu, it's overwhelming. You're just like, what am I getting from here that is actually fresh? What am I getting from here that was actually brought over and produced in the radius of where I'm at, right? And I think that I know that consumers are asking for this. They are wanting this. They are wanting this kind of guidance and this kind of structure within a menu. They want this information because they want to help. They just don't know how to. And if we, as the leaders of the industry and the leaders of the development of our menus, you know, we have the power to do that. And incorporating health considerations in people's diets as well. We know that post-COVID, you know, highlighting nutrient-rich menus, menu items, and reducing portions and balancing a menu with meat and non-meat options, it's going to be super important, and it's already started to happen. So I think that those things are super important in terms of the simplification, the redesigning of a menu development, working with the back of house and the front of house team together so that we can be like, all right, well, I'm going to use, I'm going to use carrots for 2 of my dishes, and I'm going to highlight them incredibly. They're not going to be a side dish. They're going to be the star. What does that mean for the bar? How can you use this ingredient as well in your beverage menu so that we can cross-utilize the same ingredients, so that we're not wasting, and so that, you know, the entire ingredient is being used and being highlighted within our restaurant and within our menus. You know, produce costs significantly less than meat, you know, so vegetarian and vegan items also have a higher profit margin, right? When we're talking about profit margin and money and convincing corporate buy-in, you know, this is what they want to hear. And so I think that that's also another important part is, you know, you're actually going to save some money when you're using local sustainable produce and products and incorporating that into your menu. And with that is price transparency, right? We need to be super transparent with our consumers, and that plays a key role. You know, we have to make sure that they understand how it's broken down in terms of the cost, right? From the item involved, the work involved, the relationships involved to put this product together.
For sure. I mean, look, things are getting more expensive from proper farmers and small producers, but also speaking from experience, people are more expensive. One, it's great because I want everyone to have a living wage, but in this, you know, pandemic time, to find people and then to entice them and to ensure that they're happy, it is more expensive. So all prices, whether it's food, beverage, whatever, they're going to have to go up. Yep. There's just more prep involved when you're dealing with like a low waste sustainable program than finding the right people. It is just more expensive. And when someone, you know, if someone asks me, why is this so expensive? You know, it's only this amount at this particular place. I'm like, I'm not really sure, but we can absolutely ask the farmer why it's so expensive. And then they're like,
Yeah,
wait, don't talk to the farmer about it.
Yeah, you're putting a product together, right? So that includes getting the product, production, transportation, maintenance, costs, staff, research, is that like all of that stuff, So, and I think that once consumers understand that, they make informed choices.
Yeah,
Exactly.
well, it's so funny because they idealize like the farming lifestyle and the farmer's position, which farming is from speaking from a family with farmers, it's incredibly difficult.
Yes.
But they don't really think about the end result of like, we have to turn that product into something, and using it and respecting it in the right way is really key. And so when I say, I'll absolutely talk to the farmer about it, then they're like, whoa, wait, don't do that. What are you talking about? And I'm like, well, what about us? We want to have living wages too. Like we need to have our food costs in line so that we can stay open to continue to serve you and to continue to answer some of these questions that you're asking me right now. But yeah, I think Lucas is about to get into it a little bit more, but I think planning a menu in advance is really key. I think Woodbury Kitchen in Baltimore does an amazing job with this. They look at it 6 months ahead of time, and they're already canning and pickling and getting their menus in order for like months away. And then
that's key for efficiency.
Yeah.
It will save you a lot of money, a lot of time.
Absolutely. So Lucas, do you want to go into the actual planning and continue on?
Yeah, sure, of course. First, I would like to highlight that there's no such thing as a true sustainability program if we include meat in our menus, because we know meat is one of the big generators of climate crisis, apart from the cruelty. So what I would like is to push this, like, we now have a lot of options, and as Tate said, it's cheaper. So now we have a really important point to talk with our bosses to convince them that this is the right way to go. It's not only about the trends and people transforming the way they eat and they live, but it's also more cheap and more efficiency. So now that you have so many options, I really like to say this because I'm from Argentina. We are known by our meat. We eat a lot of asado. If you go on a weekend with your friends and family, you are going to eat an asado. So 10 years ago, if you were vegetarian or vegan, you will have no place on an asado. But now we have a lot of different options. It's not just putting the vegetables in the grill, it will be amazing. But also you have a lot of different options where you can replace a hamburger of chicken or meat with real vegetables, and it will taste and smell exactly like meat or chicken. So if you're not there yet, just give it a try, because it's really important that we also transition to a plant-based diet, not only for ourselves, but also to inspire our guests. So I'm going to the beverage focus. I think, again, it's really similar to the culinary side. So planning cocktail menus in advance with the back of the house to use the same produce and keep menus seasonal. Eliminating daily menu printing is key. You can now replace it with QR codes, with links or tablets. This is something that happened a lot on hotels because of the events. So what we do at Coctelería Consciente, for example, is to change our menus for QR codes or tablets. And also what we do is with the coasters, we change the coasters to plantable paper with seeds inside. So if I give you, for example, a mojito that you have mint inside, I will give you this paper that is recycled and it has seeds inside of a mint plant. So you can take it home, you can plant it, watch it grow, and then recreate that cocktail that you have at the event. So there you have another point where you can make your guests start talking about sustainability. It's not only what you're doing, but also how you communicate with them and how that can potentiate and elevate things. And another really interesting point is what already Thais said, a condensed menu. This applies to the beverage too, with less cocktail options, but at the same time being more inclusive with options for everybody. and having low alcoholic cocktails, non-alcoholic cocktails, gluten and sugar-free cocktails, plant-based cocktails. For example, a cocktail that I love that we make at Coctelería Consciente is the vegan pisco sour. And I love it because people that are vegan are not used to have pisco sours, and when they try it, they really love it. And also because you can use the aquafaba, that is the water of the chickpeas that a lot of times are using in the kitchen, and then they just throw it away if they don't use it for making a dessert or something like that. Thais puts a strange face like, I won't throw it away. I know you won't, but I have seen a lot of kitchens around the world where they were doing that. So aquafaba is a great solution where you can add that to your cocktails, have an incredible foam, and it's also vegan friendly. So there's another example on how to reuse ingredients and how to work side by side with the kitchen.
Yeah,
absolutely. And along with, planning and making sure back of house and front of house are together on a leadership level, and something that I'm doing right now, I'm actually talking with, it's called I Dig to Learn. And it's this beautiful program that teaches kids about gardening and farming. And it kind of has a focus in terms of just education with like food. And so we're going to be doing a community garden with them, and they're going to be doing like our herbs and at least just,
so cool.
bar program. Yeah, it's just really fun. Also, like showing kids, how to actually grow something, and gets them so excited. And hey, this isn't, our cocktail, or it can be, our non-alcoholic or spirit-free cocktail.
Exactly. And again, it's how to involve your community,
Oh, and they get more excited, and they go out, and these kids just like chitter chatter to everyone else. I mean, we're the first and only hotel in Roosevelt Island, and the community's small. And so as much as we can to really incorporate them and to have them feed into it is really key, especially, with, older folks who might want a printed menu all the time. If we say, you can also get it on this QR code, then it's, we want to be more sustainable, et cetera, then they are definitely more excited about it. But getting that buy-in from an older generation to use some of these technological advances is definitely key to move forward. And sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, that brings us to the next point. Did you want to say anything else on this?
I did. Just one more point. I know that myself, as I eat an incredible amount of vegetables, but I also still eat meat. And that's something that I think we can all agree on in terms of when we're creating a menu and when we're providing certain ingredients. It goes back to the supply chain management. It goes back to meat being produced by farms which use low impact farming practices, right? Such as holistic grazing, water and energy recycling programs, minimal use of chemicals, organic farming, grass-fed, produced meats that are, in a reduced food mile radius. And so there is a start to this progress. It's not, we don't expect people, I don't expect people to go cold turkey and be like, all right, well, I'm just going to put out a vegetarian vegan menu because that's sustainability. That's not how it works. And so we do need this progression. We do need to make sure that we are educated, making educated choices. There are plenty of awesome, amazing, sustainable, holistic farmers in our world. And so we just need to make sure that we're highlighting that because they too are part of the sustainable brand, and what they do and what they farm is also part of their income as well. And we can't just forget about these people and the work that they're doing to be able to put these, I want to say holistic farming practices out there.
Absolutely. And then on the beverage focus, reusing the dead champagne or the dead sparkling that you have to make a vermouth program, it's a little bit more work, but it's really key in terms of the full menu development.
And it's also great for training your team, because you will give your team great skills, then they will use the rest of their profession. So I think it's an extra time and an extra
it gets
job,
them excited.
Great.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we have 2 points left, and it's more based on a couple, in the middle of COVID and post-COVID type of thought process. And the future is really with takeout containers, especially, we don't really know what's going to happen next week to like 2 weeks from now. And so it's really moving from takeaway to take again, in Lucas's words, which I really love. And one program that we have started to use here is called Deliver Zero, and it's a delivery platform and a takeaway platform that actually reuses containers, and it's a group of restaurants in New York City that will be doing this. And this isn't the first, and it won't be the last. And it's just something that we currently have, and it's really spreading across the entire world, which is really exciting. Lucas, do you want to hit on this?
Yes, of course. So I think that it's what you said at first, is how to change the scope from single-use containers to multi-use, to focus on takeaway, not throw away. And I think that the answer to this is a sharing economy of reusable carry-out containers that could eliminate the need of plastic takeout containers. And I think here it's also an amazing opportunity for small brands, bar, restaurants, hotels to have their own reusable carry-out containers branded with their style, with their brand, so that their guests can actually buy them for giving guests, for giving presents, or for themselves. Then you can have a loyalty program that when they go to buy with their reusable container, they have a special discount. So again, you make part of that community, you make loyalty with your guests. So I think that's a great opportunity for hotels and bars to have an extra income. And again, it's applying sustainability, but again, it would be efficient because you don't have to buy all of that plastic, and then you will save, and you will have your customers come again and again and again. Also, another important point is to providing straws and utensils upon request. Always say no to single-use plastic, and please consider compostable, biodegradable, edible, or reusable straws or utensils. A really nice program that I would like to highlight here in Argentina is a program that it's called Silk Road Coffee. And what they do is that if you go to a coffee shop and you don't have your reusable mug, you can have these for a really low price, and then you can have your coffee with any disposables, and then you go to another coffee shop 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks away from you are, and you can return your cup and they will give back your money. So in this way, you will get to know all the coffee shops around your city, because you will have a map and you will know which ones are participant in this, and you can carry out your coffee without any disposable. This is just an example. There are a lot of examples like this across the world, and I think it's really important to give them a try to rethink the way that we are consuming, because it's really important to make these big steps. It seems like a lot, but once you do it, you won't come back.
Yeah. And it's also, I think a lot of people get worried. They're like, oh, what is the customer going to think? But, it's all about training and saying, hey, this is what the future is, and getting them on that train. And people have been really excited about it. I always wonder, I'm like, oh man, are they going to be mad? How's the food going to look, et cetera? And so I just have to think, you know what, the greater position and the greater thought process is there. And I just hope for the inner good within all people is coming through as well. The next big thing is cleaning and cleanliness. Thais, being on the chef side of things, can you take us through making sure that we're ensuring that people are staying safe and we're keeping our masks,
and gloves on.
Gloves on, masks, washing hands, all of that. Go ahead.
Always washing hands. I have everybody sing happy birthday when they wash their hands, because until they're done singing happy birthday, you are not allowed to step away from that.
Feliz cumpleaños, Ati. Feliz cumpleaños.
I love that.
English, whatever language.
Yeah.
But it's true. It's so important. It's always been important. But I think it's even more important now to reassure our consumers that we're still taking these measurements and these steps to keep ourselves and our kitchens and technically our home, because we're always there, clean and safe. I think also when it comes to cleaning products in hotels, there are brand standards, right? There are specific guidelines that need to be followed when we purchase or when we instill cleaners or cleaning brands. And so I think asking our distributors for eco-certified cleaning companies and products is pretty important. And there will be an option. And if there is no other option, I for sure know that Ecolab is worldwide and a great example of a company working on their sustainable efforts and sharing that with the businesses they work with. If you just go to their website, they have an insane amount of information and articles to read up on. They're very transparent on their sustainable efforts and their sustainable goals. Even their progress reports, it's all in there. And I think that that's amazing. And then, in terms of cost, right? So like when you have, yes, you need those very good eco-friendly cleaners. We want to make sure that we're keeping our employees safe. You see the dishwasher and you see the hose that they use and how it splashes everywhere. And like, imagine all of these terrible chemicals and breathing all of that in just that's one person, And so we really need to make sure we're taking care of our teams and making sure that we're providing them with eco-friendly brands that are sustainable and certified. There's research and studies about this, and any company that you ask them to do this for, it should not come to them as a surprise anymore.
No, it's the same cleaning companies, and also here in New York, at least pest companies, because, in a hotel, especially on an island, you have to absolutely have a pest company come out every week. Yes. And everyone is doing eco-friendly now. It's not just, it's not just, it's not a big ask anymore, but I think one good thing is ensuring that there's just not greenwashing and that they're actually using like the proper chemicals and the proper items. So I literally will say, okay, give me a list of the items you're using. And they're like, oh, okay. And they're surprised by it, but then, they can back it up, which is great.
Not only that, but also like you have the ingredients in your hotel or in your restaurant, right? So like if you need a quick cleanup, like just basic sanitizer to spray and clean up your area, vinegar and water and a bit of baking soda, like, you know what I mean? So these are things that we can just start to create and instill because we have these ingredients. It's not a special ask.
Absolutely. And I think, Lucas, you had a good point of that in like the smaller kind of properties in terms of the kitchen or bars with making items yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're in a small operation like a bar or a restaurant, you can definitely make it yourself, as Thais said, with vinegar. But also you can use leftovers, limes, lemons, oranges. You can use a lot of these leftovers to reutilize it at natural cleaners. So I think it's step by step. And if you can do it yourself, because you're at a large corporation hotel and you have certain standards to comply, don't worry, you can start later. You can start only on the bar and you can work with the community to start a program in the community. So maybe you can empower someone else to do that for you, and then the hotel will buy it from them. So you can always start little by little.
Absolutely. So how do the front of house, service, beverage, culinary all work together? Teamwork makes the dream work. Tracing and mapping out the supply chain with both the beverage and culinary scope going hand in hand is super key. The kitchen and the bar always supporting local farmers, eco-farming, and also how it gets delivered to you is really important. Beverage needs to always research the liquor brands and trace the development, the infrastructure, and then always, working with the local farms, ensuring that they're as carbon neutral as possible is really key. Getting everyone involved and on board is really important. On a leadership level, looking at like the cleaning and the supplies and the pest control, and also your haulers, your trash haulers. There's only a few that come to this island in particular, but making sure that you're composting, recycling, and then also that they're dehydrating your trash for you. So our trash and any waste gets dehydrated so that it's like a lot lighter, and then it can be taken to a dump. That is really important, ensuring that your oil is recycled. So on an operations level, I put a lot of pressure on myself to make sure that I'm picking the right companies to help support these leaders in their efforts, and also in my effort. And some of it can be a bit more expensive, but overall in the end, you'll end up saving money, which is really key. And these are things that you have to do anyway. You have to get your grease taken away. Just make sure it's recycled. You have to get your trash taken away. Just make sure you're recycling, you're composting, and you're dehydrating your trash. That's why leadership buy-in is so important. So having property and then corporate with Mark Rose and Meta Bros, making sure that they want to also be very sustainable. And I'm really lucky because that is super important to them. And so saying, hey, I know that this might be a little bit more, but we need to do X, Y, and Z so that we can reduce our waste. What do you think about this type of cocktail? I know it's a little weird to use radish in cocktails, but these radishes are so amazing, and we're bringing a ton of them in for the kitchen. Like, they are so hyped by that. So it gets us all more inspired, which is really fun. Then so from there, after we have leadership buy-in, we need to make sure that the people on property are really kind of going through the motions and going through the right steps. Lucas, can you talk about what programs you've seen make the biggest difference? Because I know you go into properties and you kind of make some changes and all of that currently. So what are the programs that definitely make the biggest difference?
Of course, so always start small. The first evaluation is key. And then to implement the programs, I will talk about the supply chain evaluation at the first of your life cycle. So this is key. We have already reviewed why this is key, but this is where you are going to have a lot of savings and a lot of things that will get you up to a very sustainable job. Our second point, it would be the recycling and composting program. What are we wasting and where can we be more efficient? Recycling and composting program, label cans, composting glass, everything that you can do for your recycling and composting program, it would be great just to train your team and understand why it's important to keep tracking on this and then do the correct recycling, separation, and composting. And the final step, or at least in these first steps, it would be your carbon footprint analysis to understand what's your real environmental impact on the community that you are, and understand which are the next steps that you should take. Every hotel, every bar, every restaurant is different. So it's key that you made all these analyses and go step by step from small to large, to really understand your operation and understand where you can make more efficiency.
Excellent. Yeah. What I really liked that you said is you're starting with the first evaluation, like we said, see where you're at, how you can measure those items. Then looking at the current programs with your evaluation and the entire life cycle of a product, what you're bringing in exactly, then how you're using it in your menu development, and then how it's being taken away. And then an overall analysis is really key. Then the implementation of the programs and processes. Yes, it is a little bit difficult in terms of getting everyone on the same page, but once you do, it just changes everything. And I've seen just the biggest change with culinary and beverage professionals being really excited. And also it's a bit challenging. How are we going to use these extra tomatoes? Can we clarify them? Can we hang them? Have tomato water? There's so many cool things that we can do. Then to finish up with leadership buy-in, it's money and measurement and quantifying the results. How are we saving money? And how are we really, showing the change? But also there is value in the marketing side of it. If you are doing these programs, talk about it. And that is part of how you can quantify the results. Hey, we talked about this compost program. We're doing this thing with the community garden. How does this look good? How does this bring more community buy-in as well? Quantifying these results via on social media during your normal views or likes or whatever, but as well as how you're reducing waste and how much money you're saving from your hauler is really key as well. And that will, in the end, help with leadership buy-in. And I mean, hopefully I'm lucky where leadership is really into sustainability and being as sustainable as possible. Not everyone is, especially around the world. But in the next few years, if you aren't, then you're behind the times. That's literally what it is.
Yeah, it's important to articulate this with upper management and leadership. That this is something that if they don't jump on this now, sorry, business is going to go down.
Absolutely. It's going to be the standard.
Yeah.
So at this point, we've talked about where you should start, the different processes and how to get to your plan of action, then your programs, your implementation, and your measurement. But we wanted to take it one step further, and we are going to provide you with some resources. So Lucas, do you want to talk about the few resources that we will be providing after this?
Yeah, of course. We have just a few resources for you. One, sustainable spirits, low and no alcohol brands that we know they're making a really good job and we want to share with you. Then sustainable takeaway options. So can you rethink your takeaway to take again? And free, clean and eco-friendly brands that we are already working with them. So all of these, it will be in those links that you're seeing on your screen. And the good thing about this is that it's going to be a Google document. So we will make our recommendations, but you can also add the suppliers that you recommend, that you know that are working this way. So we can all work together in this.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. And we're really lucky to have both Chef Thais and Lucas on here. specifically because we've changed so many programs. Thais, you and I, when we worked together, we were going through and just evaluating programs and making changes, and constantly doing research is always key. So hopefully this helps you all push the needle a little bit forward, especially with Lucas's knowledge as well. Thais, will you please read the quote that we really wanted to end things with?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the perfect quote to end things, and to continue the question, or to answer the question of why sustainability at a beverage cocktail festival. Many small people in small places doing small things can change the world. This is a quote by Eduardo Galeano. Eduardo,
Edie.
right. We said it this morning, we said it before we started, and it continues to be mentioned. So again, it's not about perfection, it's about progress.
We chef, yes.
Exactly.
All right, so please reach out with any questions, comments. We really want to move forward into the future as one community, and we want to continue to learn. So we have our Instagram handles right there, and really feel free to reach out. I know that I'm always learning, and I'm continuing to always reevaluate the program that I'm in or that I'm working on. And I know that I can always do better, for sure.
I mean, look, we're not the leaders of the sustainability programs, right?
No, we're
we're
not.
all learned along the way. We're all continuing to learn. And I think that we've just learned so much with each other. And this is a part of the progress, right? Is creating that community, building that community, and learning from one another, so that we can continue to tackle this head on together, and pinpoint and educate and reorganize ourselves so that we can continue to provide the information and share information as well. So yeah, definitely reach out to us. Do not be strangers. We want to hear from you. We want to learn from you. And if there's anything that we can teach you, we're open to that. Totally.
Absolutely, especially from a Director of Food and Beverage side of things. I love this position. I love this job because I get to empower the leaders on property and then in other places. And so if there's ever any questions from that, definitely reach out. Lucas.
Yeah, I would like to thank so much Thais for being a great partner. Thank you, Edie, for inviting us to collaborate in this seminar. And thank you, Tales of the Cocktail, also for this important space. And thank you to all who are watching this seminar, eager to start making changes and evolving to transform our industry to a more sustainable and healthy one. So please stay in touch, follow us on Instagram, send us a DM with any doubt, and please do share also your experiences with us so we can keep learning, sharing, and growing together. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you all, and have a lovely day.
Thank you.
You too. Happy Tales.
Happy Tales.